man. This is such a great piece of magic. And for those that haven't seen it yet, why don't you kind of sum it up what this is, and then we'll get into more details, answer some questions that you guys might have that are watching, and we'll just go from there. So Think Nguyen, what is the surprise? What is it?
So basically, it's a set of concepts and ideas I have about how to recreate like a real miracle, and everything came down to that trick right now, the surprise. That I've combined everything I know into one thing, and trying to make that miracle come to life.
Love it, love it, love it. We got some friends starting to tune in. This is great. It's always good to have you guys here. So this is a piece of card magic. Let's start with that, guys. If you haven't seen the trailer yet, piece of card magic that the trailer has just been on fire. People have been talking about this. There's a lot of questions. And I think the first one that we should talk about is, this one comes in from Luca. He wants to know, is this 100% accurate every time? So the big question that everyone wants to know the answer to is, what we're looking at in the trailer, is that what happens every time, and is it accurate, 100% accurate every single time?
Yeah, that's a very good question, very accurate question. But to answer that, people who knows me for my work on estimation. And what I can say is that the trick you see there on this download is the trick that I'm performing every time at the end of my lecture. And every time it gets the same reaction you guys had when you just saw the trailer for the first time. And just one more detail is that that trailer was shot like only with one time. We didn't have to redo any take. It was done in one shot.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't there to see that, so I wasn't aware of that, but I'm not surprised.
So, so I have to say it's pretty accurate.
Cool.
Maybe not 100%, but yeah.
Now, the one thing that I was seeing pop up on the old cafe, the CAF, was people talking about how there may be some jazzing involved, maybe some different results for the effect. Why don't we dig in a little bit deeper, because I did talk to you about that before we went live. What's going on the trailer, the end result? Is that what the end result always will be, or will it be something different than what we saw there in the trailer?
Okay, it can be different, but it will always have the same feeling.
Right.
You will always feel fooled by it, by thinking like, what if I've done this, or what if I took this decision or this one?
Okay, cool. Yeah, and again, that's why we do these things, guys, because I know there's a lot of questions about stuff. And I guess at the end of the day, we have to all remember it's not real magic. There is a method behind the madness. But that's why we're here, to try to answer some questions to help you. Bo has another good question. Speaking of that, Bo Bab wants to know, is this impromptu, or is there some memory work involved? Another good, detailed question here about whether or not this is impromptu, if there's some memory stuff going on. So what do you say about that?
Yeah, it's completely impromptu. So it's exactly the way you saw in the trailer. So it can be any deck, and then both decks are shuffled, and then that happened there.
The two decks. So they legitimately get to choose between the two decks, and you go right into it.
Doesn't really matter. It's just part of the presentation, but doesn't matter which deck they use.
So the question for you is then, if you had to choose between the red pill and the blue pill, which one are you picking? That's what everyone really wants to know.
Well, I'm really greedy. I would take both.
All right. So the truth comes out. All right. All right, that's fair. Why don't you talk us a little bit through the video here? I've got some of the video here of this, and you mentioned, and I'm going to show this as I talk here, you mentioned this was the first time you did this for Javier. Javier is one of our studio guys. If you're not aware, that's who that is with Think. So he's shuffling up the deck. They can legitimately shuffle up the deck as much as they want, right? They can shuffle it up.
Yeah.
And then why don't you talk them through what we're seeing right now with you shuffling the card and a card falling out?
Yeah.
So why don't you kind of talk about what's going on now in the trick as we're watching this together?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. So like an accident happened, and that gives a reason to do the trick.
Yep. Yeah, which I love. It's like a happy accident.
And yeah, instead of just making a prediction out of it, I really like that idea of like something is happening, and the spectator would point it out, and then we would go from there.
Jeffrey Tam is saying, I think I was surprised with the surprise Good job, Think. So Jeffrey's digging on what you're throwing down there, so that's cool. Jeffrey's a great guy. Yeah, cool. And so here we are getting towards the end of the effect. He's dealing down. We got the 4 of clubs. And
yeah, and before that he chose the number 27, I think, and then he changed his mind. But again, here in the end, he would be like, what if I really chose 25 and not 27, you know? Yep. But he did change.
And if you guys want to watch this all the way through, feel free to check out the trailer. It's here on our Facebook feed and over on our YouTube channel, of course. And there it is, perfect match. There we go. That is the big surprise that we got the match.
And before the question comes up, there is no duplicate card because it's two borrowed deck.
So you can borrow 2 decks. I didn't know that part. I knew it was impromptu, but I didn't know if you had to use your own decks or. Okay, so you can literally.
You can borrow 2 decks, and then you can also do it with just only 1 deck. Doesn't need to have to do it. It's just part of the presentation, but you can do it with 1 deck.
Well, that's good too. I wasn't aware of that. So you could literally split the deck in half, then I guess, and do it with. Okay, that's cool. All right, so if you don't have 2 decks around, you can do that. Nicholas is asking a question. He wants to know, is this trick, is it similar, I guess, to the trick that cannot be explained? You know, that's a Divernon classic. Why don't you shed some light on that? Because, you know, it might feel like the same thing a little bit, but why don't you share a little bit more about that?
So I guess it went from there. The starting point went from there.
Yeah.
But then my idea is to have like an ending and a starting point which never change. So basically compared to a trick that you cannot explain where you do something and then you would improvise at that point. With the surprise, you know from the start what you're gonna do, how you're gonna start, and how you're gonna end it.
Cool. And that's definitely not something with the trick that cannot be explained. You don't know. You're making up the trick as you go.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's a classic, because and that's why it's something that a lot of people have touched on, because there is no definitive effect. There is no real effect to it. It's just something that happens, I think is the best way to put it, yeah. Bo had another question here about the practice on it. In terms of practice, is it something that can be ready to perform quickly, or is it that there's a bit of practice that needs skill-wise? So why don't we talk about the difficulty? We'll just sum this up as the difficulty of it. How hard is this to do?
So what's interesting about the concept I'm sharing in that project is that the moment you're going to do it, it's kind of going to adapt to your skill level. So the more you know, the better the trick would be. Okay. And then of course, so it just adapts to your skill, basically, and it makes you use everything you know. Cool.
What about the second part of his question there? How much practice do you think would go into this before you'd feel comfortable going out and doing it, as far as, you know, practicing it?
What's the question? Can you come again?
As far as the practice for this, how much practice do you think is needed before you would really start to get out and do this?
I guess just play with it like around like 1 week or 2, and then it's hard to answer because it really depends on where you are with your magic knowledge. But yeah, some people get it very quickly. Like I'm explaining that in my workshop, and the moment I'm explaining it, some people are doing it already in the workshop.
Oh wow!
So yeah.
Okay. So someone that doesn't have a lot of sleight of hand skill, let's say that, would they still be able to do this? If someone's very new to card magic, could they still do this?
200%. Because in the download, what I'm giving is actually most of the thing I'm giving is hands-off method. So it's more like a sleight of mind than a sleight of hand thing.
Okay. Cool.
Yes.
Very good to know. You know, these are again all the questions that are, you know, popping up with this. I'm going to take another look here on the Magic Cafe as well. But if you guys watching live have questions, feel free. I'm keeping an eye on this. There was a question about the gimmicks. I want to make sure that I know that we talked about this is something you could borrow a deck or 2 decks and do this. Someone was asking though, are there any gimmicks involved with this? Any gimmicks?
No, zero gimmick involved.
Okay.
Absolutely no gimmicks. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's a very you know, kind of, people see something this impossible and they kind of think, oh, there must be a gimmick or something he's ringing in or he's getting rid of, you know, during the trick. So it's good to know you literally can just grab, you know, a deck, borrow a couple decks and just rock this out.
Yeah, it's just a deck of cards. I'm sorry. What I'm giving is just knowledge.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Um, let's see, I'm looking at the cafe. There was some talk about this. Let's see. I don't see anything there. And I'm looking through the chat as well. Sleight of mind. Yeah, Nigel Quinn saying sleight of mind. He likes the idea of sleight of mind. That's funny. Jeffrey Tam is back. He wants to know, if there's no gimmick, is there a setup? Now, I know that we talked about you can borrow the decks, but do you have to do anything to the decks before this to get into the effect, or can you literally do it?
No. So everything is completely like impromptu. So it's 2 shuffle deck, and they can shuffle again before we start the trick. And the presentation is part of everything. Like the presentation is part of the secret as well. Okay. So everything is justified in a way. So there's no setup to answer the question.
All right, these are some great questions. These are the things that are important to people before they start to, decide to pick it up or not. So I'm glad we're able to knock some of these out.
Well, if I can add one thing, is that the thing you're gonna get out from the download, the knowledge you're gonna learn in the download, is for me more interesting than the performance you just saw.
Okay, cool. Very cool. About how long is the download anyway? I know that we sent it over to you yesterday to look at. How long is the whole thing? Like, how long is it?
How long is the download?
Yeah.
It's around like 45 minutes.
There you go. And I wanted to make sure we let people know that you're learning the trick that you're seeing, but you're also learning extra thoughts. There's principles involved here. There's more than the trick that you're seeing. I think that's another important thing that I wanted to talk to you about is this isn't just like you're buying a trick, right? There's so much more to this that you get. And as you mentioned before, this is something you've only shared or you've been asked to share after your lectures, and you've touched on in some workshops, but this isn't knowledge that you've just given away before. This is all packed here on the download, along with the effect that you're seeing and other things that you do with it. Yeah. So I think that's an important thing to note. Jason wants to know, is it a math thing? Is there any equations, any formulas, anything you have to remember as far as math goes? I know some people are turned off by that.
No, I'm really lazy, so there's no math involved at all.
All right. That'll make some people happy too, I'm sure. All right. Is there a force in this trick? Are we talking about any kind of forces? Now we're getting really detailed now. All right. Any forces going on?
Yeah. Okay, that's very specific. Let me think if I should answer that. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna answer it. Yeah, there's some kind of force.
Okay.
And it's a hands-off force, so you don't need to touch the deck to force someone to touch a card.
Okay.
Or choose a card.
That's cool.
Or think of a card.
I think that is the other thing that's important to note here is this is a hands-off card at any number. This is something totally that they're shuffling the deck, they're doing the work. You pick up the one deck to make your prediction, obviously, but you're totally hands-off with this, which I think is a very, very cool thing. You can't really do that with a lot of card at numbers, that you could just totally be hands-off. So that's another nice bonus here. Bo wants to know, with the single deck version, and again, guys, you saw in the trailer, this can be done with 2 decks. You can also do it with 1 deck. You split it in half and you can do this. He wants to know, with the single deck version, it seems like a really good option for a prediction effect. Do you ever spin it in that way? So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. If you do it with 1 deck, I have multiple solutions for that. But one that I really like is, for example, let them give me their hand and then close their eyes, and I would write something, and then they would close their hand. And now the surprise is happening in their hand, and there's something there that I think it's very appealing.
Cool. Yeah, that is a good point, because with the 1 deck version, you don't have an extra card unless you have jokers to reveal as the thing. I want to ask you a question too. This one wasn't anything asked on the chat. This was asked, just coming from me. Did you come up with this because there was a situation where you were shuffling cards one time and the card flew out and you thought, man, that would make a good trick? Or was that just the presentation that you put on this after you developed the method?
Yeah, so it's you're talking about the production, right? Of
yeah, when it kind of falls out of the deck, yeah.
So I was just thinking about different solution to why would we at some point do a trick or take out a card and place it on the table? And instead of doing that, I was thinking that would be really interesting if that's an accident. Because what I want to give as a feeling with this trick is that I want that trick to be like a kind of event, like it happened by accident, and everything that happened by accident surprised people. So that's the reason. So I was just searching for a solution to, like, instead of taking a card out and place it aside, I would just wanted something where I can make it seem like it's an accident.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I've come up with a few effects myself where something happened during the trick, and then I'm like, man, that would actually make a pretty good trick. So yeah, that's cool.
Would love to see that.
Yeah, there you go. Mark has another great question here. He's always full of good questions. And don't forget, guys, if you have any, don't be shy. Go ahead, pop them in there. Mark wants to know, what's the reset like, and can a different card be used? So I know we're talking about this being totally impromptu and all these other details, but if you wanted to do it again, could you do it again right away?
Yeah. So it can be done with any card. Like, doesn't have to be the same selection every time.
Cool. Yeah, I had a feeling that was the answer based on the fact that you can pick it up, do it. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to do it right away again. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So there's no reset at all. So it's something you can do indefinitely, one after the other.
Love it. We've got some folks asking what if we could show the trailer again. Michael was asking about that. Michael, I'll put this up on the screen as we talk through it again. Basically, this is an effect where Think has a card. He has a deck shuffled, both decks shuffled. A card falls out of the deck, kind of acts as his prediction. They name a number in the deck, and basically they count down in the deck to the card, and it matches his prediction. We're just seeing this here. And Think just mentioned to me that this was the first time he shot this with our studio team. This is a one-take wonder here, where they cut the deck, they shuffle it up, and it matches the number that they named, and they can change their mind. That was the cool part, huh? That you can still change your mind at the end of it. Yeah. Mark wants to know, what's the cost? Do you happen to know what this costs off the top of your head? I do think, but I'd like for you to answer it if you know.
I'm sorry?
Are you aware of how much this costs? Someone was asking about how much this costs.
Yeah, it costs around like $15, I think. Yeah. It's a really good price.
So just so you guys know, this costs $50.
15.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I just wanted to get a rise out of you. I just wanted to see what you would say. Yeah. So.
Okay. So something else interesting about that accident is that it put the focus on the magic and not yourself. Like we usually do when we produce a card, it's about us having a skill. When here, it's all about the moment which is happening.
Right. Cool.
If that makes sense.
No, it totally does. Yeah. And I like it when you're able to do a piece of card magic where they feel like, man, he's messed up, like he's not that good, and then you're about to drop the bomb on them and they have no idea what's going on. You kind of reel them in a little bit, which is pretty cool too. Yeah. I'm gonna scroll back up again, guys. If you have any other questions for us, we are here to try to help you out, try to get all the details for you. Again, the important thing is that you're not just purchasing like a one-trick thing here. And I want to really, really reiterate this, if I could get that out. This is a principle, it's a concept. This is something that you'll learn how to do this, but there's so much more you can take away from this. So if you really like or if you've ever heard about jazz magic, jazzing up your magic, like when it comes to card magic, this is like a good lesson in that. And it's coming from Think, who is one of the best thinkers in card magic. I was going to drop that somewhere, so I just had to drop it now. So there you go.
All right.
There you go. Is this surefire? So Jason's asking, is it surefire? We did cover that in the beginning, Jason, that there are different things that could pop up, but you'll still end up with the same effect. People will be blown away at the end of this. But again, Think, you mentioned to me before, right? In the trailer, that was the very first time you did it for Javier, right?
Yeah, and then I did it again for someone else at Murphy's because someone said, "Oh, can you show it to?" And then I did it, and it happened again.
Yep.
And I do it every time at the end of my lecture, and it happens every time as well. I think most of the people who have seen the lectures can attest that they were like, "Yeah, what just happened?" and they wanted to know.
And I think that's something else that people should realize is that when you're confident with your magic, when you're confident with your technique and your knowledge, the type of thing that you're seeing here, you can do this. But when you agree, think that a lot of it just comes down to your confidence, your skill level.
Yeah.
It's important, but you knowing that you'll be able to do this is half the battle, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this concept, just use everything you know. So, yeah, there's no way you can fail this trick.
There we go. That's the important part, and that's why we're here. You know, and the team at Murphy's, you know, when we saw this, which is why I'm glad you mentioned that. Of course, someone says you won't believe what just happened. They're going to say, "Yeah, show me." And the cool thing is, you literally could show this again to someone else, and kick their ass. And you know, Ben Trayan had a great quote for this as well.
Yeah.
You know, saying that this is like the perfect thing. You know, if you're at a magic convention, it's starting to get late into the evening, people might have had a couple drinks, and you pull up with this. You know, this is also the type of thing that you can use for normal people. You know what I'm talking about, right? I think the normal people. But, I mean, for magicians, if you want to find something that's going to just knock them out, this is it, right? I mean, I'm sure you've done that plenty of times.
Yeah, so in convention, this is 100% what I'm doing, like for hours. You know, with several different variation and different like team, but it's always kind of the same concept around it. Yep. And in the workshop, it's the same thing. Like I have a 5 hours workshop just on that, and the people who attend the workshop are constantly like, yeah, but what if it doesn't hit? What if it doesn't? But it just hits during the whole workshop. That's the incredible thing about it.
Absolutely, yeah. So sometimes if something looks too good to be true, doesn't mean that it is. It doesn't mean that it's always too good to be true. You know, there are things out there that are hard hitting. And I want to say something too, as we start to kind of wrap things up here. Think has a reputation for coming up with really good things. You know, your reputation says a lot about you coming into this. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, can you say again? Because it cut, so I couldn't hear.
I was just talking you up a little bit. I was talking you up, saying basically that you have a reputation in the community of coming up with really solid material, really good stuff. You know, if you guys are on the fence about this, just remember that this is one thing that Think has released, but he's released a lot of other stuff before this that has a lot of accolades. A lot of people have talked about it, and that they really respect his work. So if this was some Joe Schmo, we probably wouldn't be sitting here doing this. I'm not going to lie to you. You know, if this wasn't Think, if this was someone else, I might be like, you know what, I don't really think we should tell guys about this. But the fact that Think is one of those guys, and I've been looking at Instagram as well, the comments on there. So many people, you know, saying this is just another great piece of magic from Think. He's a legend. Another thing that's going to go down with the legend of Think. You know, I think that's an important thing to say is you're not just another guy. You're someone that's plugged into the community, and you know the good stuff, and you've been kind enough to share it here. And I think that's something that we should all acknowledge at the end of the day too. You're not just putting out crap. You're a guy that actually thinks about your work. And that leads me to my question, Think. I know I'm doing a lot of talking. My question is, I noticed on one of your posts on Instagram, this came up yesterday, and I'm going to look at this. You said something that had me really curious what you meant by this. So you were sharing the trailer for the surprise on your own Instagram feed, but then you said something. You said, that you may be taking a break, basically. You said, this release is coming out at the right moment. I might be taking a pause from Magic to digest everything I've learned during the past years. What's going on with Think? Are you going to be taking a little sabbatical, or what's going on, man? Let's talk about that.
It's just like after like traveling and lecturing and meeting a lot of people and learn a lot as well. I think I just at the moment I need to like calm down, reevaluate, so then I can see where my magic is, and more importantly, what I want to share with people in future lectures. If I still lecture, I just want to give people like a meaningful lecture, if that makes sense.
It totally does.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I wanted to mention that. I know it's a little personal, but I wanted to mention that after I just said those things about you, because I think it actually signifies, and it really sums up how much you really do care about the art of magic, that you would actually acknowledge yourself taking a step back so that you can only deliver the best stuff that you can deliver to the magic community. You know, I think that's a very noble thing by you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I hope if you do decide to take a step back, I'm going to say it from me to you, and I'm sure everyone agrees. We hope that you don't step away for too long.
I know, for sure, yeah. I can't wait to be back. I just really need to I need to keep learning as well, you know. So I need time to read and think about stuff I'm digesting.
Cool.
Okay. Just need time.
I get it, man. You know, the worst thing you can do is burn yourself out, and then no one wins with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, speaking of one other thing, I wanted to ask you about this. I just found out about this today myself. I know that you're kind of taking a step back, but there is one new thing that you're wanting to do, that you're kind of starting to do right now. Why don't you share that excitement with everybody? Because there is something really cool that you're up to. But
yeah, so you know, as a card magician, at some point, everyone wants to have their own baby. You know, you're touching cards every day, and at some point you're like, oh, but what if I have my own design? So I had an idea that came up when I was in Asia, and then finally, Murphy's Magic is helping me making this comes to life. So there will be a deck of cards coming out in the near future, hopefully.
All right. Can we get any, and I always press people for this, so this is not anything personal. Can I push you a little further to give me any info, any details, the name, anything about this deck? Because we're talking about a deck. Any details, anything.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do with that is using, I'm just going to say it. It's using the shell of an oyster and make it a back design.
Okay.
And but I want something really organic, not like a design that you're making on computer or something. I want something really organic. So I believe we managed to do that, and the result at the moment is really amazing. I love it. Just can't wait to share it with you. And then another thing is that there's some extra things in the design that allows you to use jazz magic and estimation.
Ah, very cool. All right. I'm not familiar with anyone developing a deck for that stuff, so that excites me, actually. I know people have done marked decks up and down, but some stuff in there for the guys that like to jazz it up, huh? That's interesting. All right. So this is a for sure thing, right? You're having this design now. This is something that is going to happen.
Yeah, we to be honest, we're waiting for a prototype now, so then we can see how it goes when we have it in the hand.
All right. And do you have any timeline at all? I know decks of cards can take a while, trust me, but do you have any idea of maybe before the end of this year, maybe early next year? Do you have any ideas on that?
Well, it's my first time doing that, so I really have no idea, but if I have to guess, I guess at least before July next year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Well, keep an eye out for that, guys. Obviously, we are teaming up with Think to do this, so keep your ear to the ground. We're going to keep you updated of when this stuff happens, of course. But also keep up with Think. You know, I want to give him some love too before we let him go. I know it's getting late in Belgium. If they want to keep up with you online, socially, where are the places that they should do that? And
definitely Instagram.
Okay.
I'm active on it. I just don't post that much anymore, but I'll be back the moment I have an interesting idea, and I will post again.
Okay. And how can they find you on there? I know what your info is, but how can they find you on Instagram if they're looking? What's your name on there?
Exactly my name, just no space in between. So Think Nguyen, no space, and you will find me.
Very good. Very good. I had to ask. I like I said, I know we've been talking, but they don't know and they should know. So go give him a follow over on Instagram. You know, you're definitely going to see more from him in the near future. But right now, we're going to let Think go. It's like 9:30 at night in Belgium, so I've kept him longer than I should have. Shame on me. But I wanted to get the goods from you. And we got some bonus content from you, too, about your deck. So thank you for sharing that as well, Think. We appreciate all of this. Trust me.
It's all my pleasure.
Awesome, man. All right, brother. Well, you get some rest over there and enjoy the time away, you know, reflecting and thinking, man. I really respect that. And I hope you take your time and just enjoy the experience, because I know we love your stuff and we can't wait to see what's next from you, man. So thank you.